Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our entitled parents. In today's episode, entitled mom thinks that my baby's birthday is her day. Entitled mother tries to make my SIL's life miserable in order to get a house. No, Dad, I won't invite your fiancé to my wedding. Entitled mother thinks she can cure stuttering by hitting a baby in the mouth. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled mom thinks that my baby's birthday is her day. Okay. So first off, I'm writing this on my phone, so if formatting is off, I apologize. Second, the entitled parent in this story is my mom. Okay, so here we go. Back in April of this year, my wife had our baby. During that time, COVID was still rampant and restrictions were still strict. The hospital rules were that my wife was allowed to have 2 people on file that could visit her, but only one could be in the hospital at a time. Being her husband and the father of her child, she obviously chose me as her first support person, and then she chose my mom as her second. My wife was high risk, so she had to have a planned C-section. Prior to the operation, I texted my mom getting ready to go back to the operating room. Say a quick prayer. Then I went back with my wife. She ended up losing a lot of blood during the surgery, so her recovery took a really long time. Several hours before even I was allowed to see her, during my wife's recovery, I was in the nursery with the baby making sure that everything was okay with him. About an hour into my wife's recovery, a nurse comes in and says, "Hey, there's someone on the phone asking for you. Can I transfer them over?" I say sure, and the phone in the nursery rings, so I answer. Me, hello? How dare you don't answer me? I have been texting and calling all day. Me, what do you mean? I don't even have my phone? My wife is still in recovery. You are a liar. You texted me earlier that you were going back to the surgery room. Me, yeah. I did. But then I left my phone in the hospital room so that I could be emotionally supportive to my wife and not be on my phone during the birth of my child. What? You mean you didn't even take a video of the surgery? I told everyone that I would have videos to post. Me, no. I didn't. And even if I did, they wouldn't be for Facebook. I can't believe you. Don't talk to me that way. I can't believe that you would do this to me on my day. Then I got tired of her and just hung up the phone mid-conversation. I then just didn't talk to her for a while and finally had time to get my phone back. I take some pictures of the baby, send them to my mom hoping she was just being emotional earlier, and give her a call. Crying, "Why would you do this to me?" Me, do what to you? Push me away like this. It's been hours and I haven't been able to see the baby. Me, huh? My wife is still in recovery. You're lucky I'm even able to send you pictures. I don't care if she's still in recovery. I should be allowed to come see him. This is my day and you are ruining it. Me, mama, listen. I love you, but you are not doing this to me today. I'll talk to you later. And I hung up again. Later that day, after my wife was back in the normal room and out of recovery, she had been checked on multiple times and was able to get up and walk a little bit, we let my mom come see the baby. Remember, while she was in there, I had to leave the room due to COVID policy. The whole time she was in the room with the baby and my wife, she was complaining about how we pushed her out, left her in the dark, and ruined her day. And she kept me away from my baby by not leaving for more than an hour. I know that this isn't as radical as some of the other stories, but it's still entitled and narcissistic, and trust me, I have plenty more stories of my own mom being an EM. I might just share some more soon. Entitled mother tries to make my SIL's life miserable in order to get a house. So, this story requires a lot of background to be understood, so please bear with me. Recently, my MIL passed away. My wife's sister, Lucy, 40s F, has a mental handicap where she has the mentality and maturity of about a 9-year-old. She has lived with her mother her entire life and was, understandably, devastated by the loss. Because of her handicap, Lucy receives a Social Security disability check every month from the government in the amount of about $800. She and my MIL had been renting an apartment using both of their incomes. However, with the loss of my MIL's income, Lucy could no longer afford the apartment on her own. My MIL and Lucy have a small dog, a Chihuahua Maria, that they have had since it was born. Maria is now 12 years old. Lucy loves this little dog, and it is really the only thing she has left of her mother. My MIL had taken care of Lucy for her whole life, to the point that Lucy never had to cook, clean, go grocery shopping, pay bills, make a budget, or do anything for herself. My MIL's passing was not a surprise. She had been sick for a while. Therefore, for the past year or so, Lucy has been receiving services from a state-sponsored program, GP, to help her learn life skills such as cooking and cleaning. This program also offers housing assistance, but it was not needed before this time. How the housing assistance works is that the GP buys or rents housing, and then places clients in the house, charging the clients significantly reduced rent, with the state welfare program making up the difference. After my MIL's death, my wife became Lucy's power of attorney, allowing her to make financial and medical decisions for Lucy. My wife was able to get Lucy set up in GP housing at a cost to Lucy of $500 per month. This included all utilities, leaving Lucy $300 per month for internet, food, and anything else she needed. It's not ideal, but it's doable. However, she would be unable to keep the dog. The reason for this is EM, whom we will call Karen, because, of course. Also living in the same GP housing as Lucy is Dottie, 20s F. Dottie is also handicapped. She is nonverbal and walks with a walker. However, she seems very sweet. Unlike her mother, Karen, Dottie requires 24/7 support from caregivers. Lucy also has caregivers coming weekdays during the day to help her. Maria ended up staying with one of her caregivers, Sophie, until a situation could be arranged where she and Lucy could live together. Okay, enough background. Let's get to the entitlement. When my wife met with the GP representative and Karen to discuss Lucy moving into the house, Karen told everyone that dogs were not allowed because the landlord forbade it. The landlord she was referring to was not the GP, but the owner of the house that the GP was renting from. My wife asked if she could discuss this with the landlord directly, and Karen said, "No. I'm representing the landlord. So you'll have to just trust me. It gets worse." Even though Lucy is technically renting from the GP, Karen insisted that my wife sign a sublease stating that we were renting from Karen. The representative from the GP said to go ahead and sign it, and that it would be fine. My guess is that, since Karen is paying the GP, the document would be unenforceable, and the GP rep just didn't want to deal with fighting Karen. So, my wife signed it. Karen also wanted Lucy to pay the $500 monthly to her, and she would give it to GP. My wife stood her ground on that one. There was no way that we were trusting this person with Lucy's money. After much arguing, Karen finally agreed to let us pay the rent directly to the GP. Then the discussion went back to the dog. My wife asked if there was any way that Maria could live with Lucy. Karen said, "Of course not. My husband is allergic to dogs." My wife said, "So that means if your husband came to see Dottie, he'd have a problem, right?" Karen replied, "No, my husband never comes to the house. But I do all the time. And I can't be bringing dog dander home." Later, when my wife and I were at the house to sign the sublease, Karen mentioned that she had to leave to pick up her other daughter's dog. What? Karen also tried to get security cameras installed in the house. They would cover the living room, the kitchen, and the dining room, basically all of the common areas. Because Dottie was nonverbal and couldn't tell Karen what was happening with her, she wanted to be able to observe what was going on in the house at any time. Nobody was okay with this. Not Lucy, not my wife, not the caregivers, and not the GP representative. Some of Dottie's caregivers told us that Karen had asked for this on multiple occasions. She didn't like being told no. So, Lucy moved in without the dog. Sophie would drive her over to her house nearly every day to spend time with Maria. Every time Karen came to the house when Lucy was there, she told Lucy that she should just forget about the dog, because she is never going to have Maria with her again. Everything having to do with Karen was starting to look a little fishy. Using public records search, I was able to determine that the owner of the house was an 80-year-old woman who inherited the house from her parents when they died. Using the same search, I was able to learn that Karen owned 3 different properties that she rented out. I kinda got the impression that Karen was trying to somehow get the house from the owner, but we never figured out what that dynamic was all about. After living there 3 months, my wife received a letter from the owner of the house. It was an eviction notice. Apparently, the owner had decided to sell the house, and Lucy had 30 days to move out. The letter also stated that Karen has decided not to renew the lease. My wife called Karen and, as it turns out, Karen got a similar letter from the owner stating that Lucy had decided not to renew the lease. I could not help but laugh. It seems that whatever Karen was trying to pull on the owner got the last laugh. A few weeks later, Lucy moved into another GP house. This one is more expensive, $600 per month, but it includes internet, which Lucy no longer has to pay for, so it's pretty much a wash. Also, another resident in the house has a dog. So, after making sure that Maria and the other dog got along, Lucy has her dog back. No, Dad, I won't invite your fiancé to my wedding. Explanation and bit of backstory first. My parents got divorced 3 years before the story takes place, because Dad cheated. He got a girlfriend, surprisingly not the woman he cheated with, to whom he proposed year before my wedding. Also in my country we gift cash at wedding instead of gifts. Story itself, I was going to get married, something I wanted for a very long time. Most of it was planned, we only had to pay for the party, food, music, the usuals. We had reception at hotel where we were tight with management, so we had a little discount, but it was still quite a bit of money to be paid in advance. Hence deal with our parents, they pay for it, and we return it with gifted money after the wedding. Dad invited me to a restaurant to talk. After chit-chat he gave me an envelope with money for which I thanked. We ate dinner and talked. Overall we had a pretty good time. As we were going to leave he asked me if I could invite him with his fiancée. It was common knowledge we invited only family and few closest friends. He knew this as we talked about it before. And honestly, I wouldn't even mind him coming with his fiancée if it were not for my mom, who would have to look at them having fun being in love while being alone herself. So I told him just that. Dad, well, I will have to insist since we pay for your wedding. Me, oh, is that so? Don't worry, you are not paying for it anymore, smiley face. I slammed the envelope on table and stormed out. There definitely was a lot of pent-up anger for the shit he pulled off throughout the years, and that was just too much. In the end he came to the wedding alone, after his future mother-in-law ripped a new one to them both for that. Entitled mother thinks she can cure stuttering by hitting a baby in the mouth. This did not directly happen to me, it was my mother talking to my sister, then sister told me about it afterwards. Cast, me/OP, yours truly S, Sister N, Niece M, entitled Mom. Little backstory, when I was a kid I had a pretty bad stutter. Even nowadays some big words can trip me up if I'm very excited or anxious, but my speech is pretty good now, good enough to earn a bachelor's in communications I suppose. Anyway, I also have a wonderful stepmother whom I love, and she always goes out of her way to help me with everything. When I entered 6th grade, stepmom and dad organized to enroll me in a speech class in my school that would really help me to be rid of my stutter, and after about a year my speech was much improved. My own mother, however, is definitely the jealous type, and, to say the least, didn't take kindly to my stepmom helping me where she couldn't/wouldn't. Recently, my niece has been developing a stutter at a young age, and sister decided to talk to our mom about it. Here's that convo. N has developed a bad stutter. Getting a little worse over the past few weeks. Take a clean dish rag, wet it, and pop it across her mouth like a slingshot. That's what your grandma did to OP, and your great-grandma did to her. I noticed the stutter on Sunday. OP had a speech therapist at his elementary school. No, your grandma popped him in the mouth with a wet towel. I'm not popping her. OP had a speech therapist in school to work with him weekly. Then it went away. No, I'm the mother. I am telling you what my mother did. She caught OP and your uncle off guard and popped them in the mouth. Never mind, Mom. I'm a mother too. I was just saying I am OP's mom, and I know what my mom did. His school did not cure OP, my mom did. Try it. Okay, Mom. Obviously, my sister did not try that, and obviously our mom is lying about our grandma hitting me. Our grandma was the most loving and kind individual to all her grandkids. Obviously, I can't speak for her tactics in raising my mom and aunts and uncles on the account of not being alive yet, but I can assure she never punched me in the mouth. It's actually impossible for my grandma to have attempted that when I was so young, because she passed away when I was 10 years old, and my stutter wasn't addressed until 6th grade, when I'd be around 11 or 12 years old. My sister also texted our stepmom after that too, and immediately our stepmom reached out to an actual speech therapist who then contacted my sister with advice and to set up an appointment. I think it's obvious who we turn to whenever we need any help or advice. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.